Hello, not live, pre-recorded. That's not how podcasts work, dipshit. From pre-recorded at an earlier date to the one you are listening from Stones Corner in Queensland, Australia. This is Gimme Empathy. I'm your host, Scott Mercer, and I have a poor understanding of audio, broadcast, and internet technology. My guest on this week's episode is Lloyd Martin. Lloyd is the lead guitarist in Brisbane band The Bear Hunt. The lead singer of The Bear Hunt, you may recall, was on the last episode, Beck Wilson. Beck and Lloyd are also engaged to be married. They've been together a very long time, and I interviewed them on the same day, back to back. I wanted to interview them with as little time in between as possible so they would not have a chance to debrief with one another. And the reason for this is that I like when guests tell the same story from different perspectives. And in this episode, there's an example where Lloyd tells the story of how he and Beck first met at a bar in Townsville. Now, Beck already told this story last episode, but as it turns out, she left out a little detail about Lloyd's state of mind on that particular day that is very interesting. A word about this episode. Lloyd has seen some gnarly shit in his life, and so if you don't want to hear specifically about topics of family violence, anxiety and depression, and suicide, then this one might be a bit heavy for you. It kind of seemed like Lloyd was happy to get some of this stuff off his chest. Lloyd very kindly brought over a 6-pack of Guinness to start this podcast off, which is why we're talking about Guinness at the very start. So without any further ado, this is episode number... What episode is this? God, 42. This is episode number 42 of Gimme Empathy with Lloyd Martin. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Cool. So, like, how did you first learn to love the Guinness?
My dad introduced it to me when I was like about 14, 13.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was like, I started drinking beer at parties and he was like, nah, just drink this and this will get you more wasted, but you won't drink as much. I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, my dad's Irish, so like his side is like all Irish, so they all drink Guinness and it's just been a thing every Christmas Day. And same with Kilkenny.
Yeah.
As well. So like, yeah, we like our heavy stouts. It's pretty good.
Does your dad live in Australia?
Yes, yeah. He's my stepdad technically.
Right.
Yeah, like met him when I was like 10 and married my mum and stuff. And yeah, so pretty much like we immigrated here together in like 2004, November the 4th to Australia. And he's from England and pretty true to his roots, like to the point where he can become a citizen, but he refuses to do it. He's just one of those guys, like pure English, like all the way kind of thing, like just complains about everything Australia, but loves it and never wants to leave it.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like he refuses to go up and sing the anthem. That's his number one thing. Because in Townsville, they have like a thing where you go to the Strand and it's like a big introduction thing. You get a plant and you have to like pledge your allegiance to Australia and like do this national anthem. Just doesn't want to do any of that. He thinks he's betraying his country. To the point where, when he goes back to England, he like coughs up money because every time he goes back to England, tries to go to Australia, he's technically not meant to be doing that. So he has to pay like, I think it's like $2,000 each time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's that committed.
That is a lot of commitment to put your money where your patriotism is.
Pretty much.
Now, the thing about Guinness is I've heard that the Guinness that you get like in Ireland is very different to the Guinness they export to the rest of the world. Like it's straight off the tap in the brewery. It's like manna from heaven, and the rest of it doesn't quite compare. Does he have an opinion on that?
Yeah, he pretty much solely agrees with that. Like, because like he took me to Ireland when we were a kid. When I was a kid, sorry, and I was about 11. And yeah, like they just drink Guinness like it's water there, eh? Like just constantly. But like I said, it's like he reckons it's pure. I've actually never tasted it from Ireland, so I wouldn't know.
Oh.
Yeah, I've just never gone back to UK or anything, so it's my mission when I go back is go to Ireland, check out family and drink some Guinness. But yeah, definitely, I don't know. To me, it tastes good here, so I don't know.
I think it tastes pretty good. I don't think I've had Guinness before, but I'm not a big beer person. But.
Yeah, this is the extra stats. This is like 2 Guinnesses. This is 1.8 standard drinks, 6%. apparently I've got yet to try it, but my dad told me if you put port inside of Guinness, so if you get a shot of port and put it in there, it's awesome apparently.
It smells almost like coffee.
Yeah, that's what I get from it. It's like a real thick coffee, or like, I guess like breakfast almost, if you want to see it that way.
It's a good breakfast beverage.
Fills you up.
Lloyd, how do we know each other?
We met when Bear Hunt first came to Brizzy. We played a gig, Go Fish, Steady As She Goes, and I forget the other bands now, but it was like a New Year's Day gig. We played at some hotel on Roma Street there.
Transcontinental.
That's the one. Yeah, and like I think I just met you then, and I think me and you spoke about like Yamaha Pacificas, because that was like my first guitar.
Oh,
and
wow.
you were rocking out one at the time.
I am still, yeah.
Yeah, they're good guitars. That's why I was like, wow, someone actually like dedicated himself and used it all the time. Like mine kind of fell apart when I moved to Australia, but yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, we met then, and then from there we kind of saw each other now and again. And I think recently we kind of just started reconnecting because of Murray and stuff like that. Like,
yes, so he's joined your band, The Bear Hunt.
Yes.
He beat me to the bass player job.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been regretting that decision ever since.
Now and again, like if he doesn't do things I want him to do, I'm always like, man, I'm gonna get Scott in. If you don't know how to play this in like a week, Scott's coming in and he's like, oh, all right, and then straight away that next week he knows how to do it. Like,
we've got that same kind of running joke in Harley Young and the Haymakers, actually, because for a gig we did last year when Murray was still in that band, he realised he couldn't make the gig because he was going to be in Japan.
Yeah.
So we got Luke Peacock in to play bass for this one gig. And like, because Luke's the best musician in the world.
Yeah,
he's
I've heard
like
about him.
the most handsome, talented individual ever. So whenever anyone in that band now does anything, it's like, you know, I think Luke Peacock, he plays some pretty good lead guitar lines there, Scott, or like, but it's even gotten personal. So it's like, if Harley and Philippa are fighting, it's like, you know who's a really considerate and generous person in relationships? Luke Peacock, you know? I reckon he'd be a better husband than Harley.
yeah, I guess you got to have those people you got to fall back on.
So you and previous guest Beck
Yes.
have been in, you formed the Bear Hunt together.
Yep.
Back in Townsville.
Like 2011 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've been together for even longer than that?
Yeah, we met each other when we were like, well, I'm 28, turned 29 this year, and we met each other when we were like just both turned 19.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been together like 10, 11 years now. Yeah, it's a long run.
And now you're getting married next year?
Yes, we are. We decided to, I made a pact with her when I first met her. I think we realized it sounds lovey-dovey, but yeah, I loved her back to the point where I first met her. I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life. And I just said to her, I was like, you know, we started getting serious and dating and moved in together. And like one day, I think we were high or drunk, and we came to the topic of being like, you know, if we ever get married, when would you want to do it? And I said, well, my rule is I have to be with someone for 10 years. And I think like after 10 years, you kind of, if you haven't changed your mind on that person or don't, you know, look for other things, you're set, and, you know, you just keep going from there. So 10 years hit, and Beck's like, we get married. I'm like, yep, that was it.
How did you formulate that rule?
I don't know. Like, relationships and stuff are weird for me. Beck's been in a few before us. I've been in one when I was like 17. It was like first proper girlfriend. I've like gone around girls, and when I moved to Australia, obviously I had an English accent, which is totally gone there. I was a lot more charming and typical English guy back then. So like, girls have kind of always wanted to talk to me. So I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but you know. And like, yeah, it used to get me in a lot of trouble with other guys as well. Like, because it's hard because I had no friends. And we trying to make friends, and then like guys will see me with girls and like see me as the enemy and won't want to be my friend, and got into plenty of fist fights over stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. It was a bit weird when I first came. I was way into punk music at the time too, so I just didn't give a fuck about anyone or what anyone thought of me. And it kind of reflected in how I acted around people. So like, yeah, when girls got attention, which I never had in England, like girls never really found me interesting. And I was a bit of a, I guess the word's frigid, I guess. Like I wasn't really into women at the time. I was way into skateboarding, and that was my life, and always was for a long period of time. I just didn't care about anything else. I didn't want a girlfriend to like hold me back, like stuff like that. I tried a few times to date girls in England, and it just didn't work. And I was just young and didn't really care. Yeah, and then I moved to Australia and obviously got more attention, which was new to me, so I enjoyed it and played the game, I guess you'd say. Sounds a bit dickish, but you know. Did that for a while, and then yeah, pretty much met a girl called Monica and dated her for a year, and then after that I just decided like, I'm not into this, I just want to play music and skateboard. And if it comes around, it comes around. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then when I met Beck, I was like, well, yeah, I loved Beck from the day I met her. And I was like, yeah, she's pretty cool. And we opened up to each other and became best mates. And yeah, decided just like, I don't know, 10 years.
What do you remember about the first time you met Beck?
It was pretty funny. So I was with my friends. It was an Easter long weekend, I'm pretty sure. And I was with my friends. Back in the day, I used to be a bit of a weed head. I used to smoke a lot of weed. So yeah, I was like real high all day, hanging out with mates, listening to music and stuff. And we started going to town. And yeah, we had like, me and Beck had mutual friends, funnily enough. Like my first girlfriend, Monica, went to the same school as Beck and was actually friends with Beck. So like I seen Beck around a little bit and just never thought anything of it. Yeah, pretty much went out into town. I was super high. I just couldn't do anything. And yeah, no, I don't know if you ever got that high before, but like I just pretty much sat in the corner the whole time, like just greening out like hard. My friends all like running around being crazy. Sat in the corner for a long time, and my friend started chatting up Beck. His name was Kyle, and he's way into like, yeah, tribal tats and cars and like into metal and stuff. And the whole time he kept trying to show Beck his car and like chat her up and get a number. And Beck just wasn't interested. And then I was sitting there watching it laughing. And all of a sudden she pointed at me and was like, I want that guy. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then the whole night, I was checking her out the whole night anyway. And yeah, as soon as she said that, she came up to me and she's like, oh, hi, I'm Beck. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Lloyd. And she's like, I got to go, but you going to come back tomorrow? And I was like, I wasn't planning to, but you know. And she's like, well, if you come back tomorrow, we'll chat. I'm like, okay. And she's like, do you like me? I'm like, yeah, I kind of really like you. I'm just too hard to talk right now. I don't think this is a good situation to be in. I think I might make a dick of myself. She's like, okay, well, that's fine. Just we'll start again tomorrow. So the next day I like got up, went out in town with my mate, and yeah, met up with her and pretty much spent the whole night with her and hung out and went from there.
If you weren't so totally off your face the first night, do you reckon, would you have been trying to hit on Beck as well, along with your mates?
Probably.
And see, she probably wouldn't have liked you then.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, she tells me she liked me because when she first saw me, she reckoned she liked me and just kept looking at me the whole night. And I was just like not involved. And yeah, I'm a bit like that with just people in general. I think I come off to people a bit weird or like arrogant, I guess. Like I kind of, when I go out into town or go and watch band stuff, I'm kind of by myself a lot and very quiet. And I'm that kind of person, like you have to come up to me to talk to me. I won't go out my way to go and talk to anyone. Like I'm a bit antisocial, I guess. So like, yeah, if you come up to me and talk to me, I'll put all my whole heart to you and tell you everything about me and make friends with you and stuff like that, or try hard anyway. And yeah, and then form relationships from there. So yeah, I guess like her making that move, like I probably wouldn't even made the move, you know what I mean? Like I probably would have been chatting to her and probably would have made a dick of myself just like that guy trying to show his cars and his guitars. So like I'm kind of glad she made the first move and went from there. So, but yeah, it was a big ordeal.
And what was it about Beck that you found attractive?
Just everything pretty much. Like fashion. I love women with curly hair. I got a real big thing. It's weird, I'm attracted to like Jewish looking women.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why. I just am. I just find dark features and curly hair and all that kind of stuff like real attractive. So straight away she had that look I like, and she was a bit hippie back then, so I was into hippie chicks as well. And yeah, just magnetized by it, like just drawn in and just wanted to be around her and stuff. So
we're going to talk about you've given me some topics
yeah,
that we're going to draw from a hat today. Do we want to pick the first one?
Yeah, go for it. This is scary.
That's the rustling of the topics in the hat. All right, Here we go. Number one.
Mental health. It's a thing I kind of have a battle with myself and try and support a lot. What do you want to know about it?
So I guess, what have you got going on? Anything diagnosable?
Yeah, I've kind of suffered from a long period of depression, and also I have anxiety pretty bad as well. It's mostly work-related anxiety. Yeah, like in my normal life, I'm pretty confident, like, you know, with music and stuff like that. I think I'm good at what I do and strive to work better and harder to get what I need. But whereas when it comes to work, it's like it's just something I just don't want to do it. And it's just kind of like I find pressures of people telling me to do things all the time or do it their way. It kind of gets to me and I just go into a big snowball effect and just, yeah, it just all goes wrong.
What do you do for work?
I'm a signwriter, a tradesman. So I think the anxiety from work came from when I was an apprentice. Like being an apprentice is a pretty rough business. Like you get treated real bad. You kind of get paid nothing, so you feel like you're worth nothing straight away off the bat. You don't really know what you're doing, so like you kind of have to learn from tradies who are very stubborn to teach new generations because it's their job.
Competition.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they don't want to teach you everything they know. It's like being a guitarist and teaching a guitarist all the tricks you know, and then them doing it. It's like that's how I see it in my world. Whereas like songwriters, the same deal. Like they just don't want to teach you things, and they got no patience either. And I totally understand now. Like I'm a tradesman now. I've been doing it for like 10 years. So when I get apprentices now, I kind of understand where they're coming from, because the fact is also you got to deal with, you give the apprentice the opportunity to do something, but if they muck up or make a mistake, you have to fix it.
It's kind of your responsibility because you haven't taught them enough, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And it's like you're not the one who's touched it, but you have to fix the mistakes that they make, and it's a lot of pressure. Like especially if they stuff up real bad, and you kind of have to explain it to the boss, and then you feel bad because I kind of got a rule where I don't really like yelling at apprentices or like being mean to them, because I had a boss who was like that, who was very threatening and very, just a cockhead, I guess. Like so I just get anxiety from that, just from being an apprentice and just dealing with being a tradesman. It's like two different worlds almost. It's like I have to be muso Lloyd, hang out Lloyd, like lay back, and then when I go there I have to be like professional, on my ball, kind of bossy and demanding Lloyd, and I kind of don't like that personality of myself. Like I've been to a point where like I was a head tradesman of a company, and no one liked me, man. Like ever. Like I was like cutthroat as they can come, like yelling at bosses, yelling at people quoted jobs, demanding everything needed to be done my way, or that was it. And like and I got to the point where I was just bringing it home, and if it was reflected on my band, like I was treating them the same way, and then like me and Beck would have arguments, and I'd just be constantly angry, and I just got to a point where that's where like I decided to quit and just go study for 2 years and just like clear my head and become a different person again, because it just the two just molded and didn't work out for me. So so that's the anxiety part. It's funny enough because it doesn't affect me in music at all.
That is really interesting that it's in your more mundane work that the anxiety came out, because I would think normally like the artistic side of people is the more anxiety inducing.
Yeah, for me it's like I said, for me it's the other way around. Like I think just like with work and stuff, it's because you make your bread from it and you get paid and all that sort of stuff. You kind of you got more to prove, and I don't really know those people. You're kind of just colleagues, so it's like they don't care what you do outside of work. You know what I mean? Like they care for what you do at work. So it's like you have to prove. I feel like I'm always proving myself to them constantly, and just to earn my money. Like, and I think that just gets me. Whereas like with music, it's kind of the same as skateboarding. Like I said, I suffer anxiety and depression. So like when I was younger, I started skateboarding. Like it just clears my mind. Like I don't think of anything. I just do it. And it's like it's almost like meditation to me. Like just the whole overall thing. I have nothing in my head. It's just empty. I just naturally go where I need to go and do what I need to do, trick-wise and stuff. And it's the same when I play guitar and stuff like that. When I'm in the band and stuff like that, I just like clear my mind. I'm just relaxed and I don't worry about anything, and just focus on the song, and try and connect with my fellow musicians, and just love that feeling. Like it's great for me.
I think I'm the opposite. I think I don't care about work at all. It's totally automatic, and I don't care what other people think. And music, I'm a lot more concerned and conscious about what I'm doing and what will make other people happy, what will make other people interested. Yeah.
See, I think like with music, I believe in myself, and like, when I write, it's for me, it's not for anyone else. So like if I always challenge myself in that way as well. Like when I make one album, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to make this album this way. Like on first album, to be honest, I was like, I'm going to mix Dinosaur Jr. and PJ Harvey. That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And I worked my ass off to make that happen. And when it did, I'm like, sweet, that's done. And I clear my brain. I don't care what people think about it. It's for me, you know what I mean? And then the second album, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be like the EP, sorry. I'm going to be like a heavier, more angry grunge band, and try more like psychedelic kind of stuff, and, do that. And it gets done. I'm like, sweet, that's done. And then this new album we're making currently, like, I just want to go back to when I was 16 and like bands like Interpol and Block Party and do a lot more of that kind of stuff. So when it comes to music, the only enemy I have is myself. I don't really care about anyone else. Like if you don't like my band, you either like it or you don't, and that's it. Like I can't force that person to like it. So that's why I don't have anxiety with it, if you get what I mean. Like,
how does that work though with, because you're in a band and you have other people's artistic aims that you have to deal with?
I guess like in my band, I guess I'm the boss, I guess. Like, yeah, and it is a hard role to take. Like you know my history of my band. I've had people come and go like in and out, and not ever bad. Some bad, some good. It just happens. But yeah, I'm very much like Linda used to hate it. When Linda was in my band, she used to hate it because it would be like, I'll come in, have a vision, and that was it. That was the vision. Like, it doesn't matter where it goes. Like, the band has to go with me, and they have to put their trust inside of me, trust in me to go that way. And most of them will follow and stuff. And like, I'm always 6 steps ahead of myself, like with everything, like album cover art, like topics, like everything. I just always ahead of myself. So I just, like, and it's hard because you try and go that direction. Like back in the day, I used to just tell members what to do. Like I'd come in and be like, right, Beck, you're playing this, I'm playing that. Linda, I want you to kind of make this drum beat. Like Kate, whoever was playing bass at the time, do this. And then that would happen. So it was more like I was running the show and everyone just kind of did what I wanted to do. Whereas this time around, I kind of got over that because I've fell out with some people over that kind of stuff. And this time around, just opened up the doors for creativity. So I'd be like, this is the kind of direction I want to go. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you have any input or anything for that, let's just do it together and make music.
There's a few things from that. I guess, first of all, I imagine there would be a difference in being more dictatorial with like people in your rhythm section. As you said, those are the people who've come and gone over the years. But the other thing is that your partner is in this band and she's the lead singer.
Yeah.
Like how did that go down with her? Has she always been on the same page creatively as you?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I don't have any say or control of lyrics or melodies or anything like that. Like I'm not very good at doing that. So like I give all that power to Beck and pretty much the only input I have on that is like, because obviously me and Beck like spend like 24 hours together like every single day. Yeah, so when it comes to the band and stuff, we kind of feel the same way about certain topics. We've been together so long. I just hint what the song would be about. So when I write a song, I try and think of what I'm feeling. So that's where the mental health thing comes in. Like if I'm depressed about something, instead of getting down about it, I kind of let it just pour out of me in guitar. And I'd be like, all right, Beck, I want this song to be about like, you know, people who have issues in the past and get over them and then become like some saint-like figure and tell you how you're wrong and that, you know, and tell you how you shouldn't be living your life that way, but they lived their life that way before. You know what I mean? Like,
so like you give her themes to write around,
pretty much,
and then she fills that in based on her own stuff,
her own experience and how she takes it on as well.
Right.
Yeah, there's like a few times like on To Be Honest, there's a couple of tracks like Electric Brain and Ready or Not, and yeah, they're just songs where like I'll come home and just be real depressed and tell Beck some certain things, and she'd take what I say and then just go with it. And kind of those songs I can't listen to sometimes because they're about me or, you know, stuff I've said and it kind of puts me down. But I think music wise, yeah, I said like it works and it's good with Murray and Marty, like my new members, because I just let them do what they need to do and they kind of contribute and I respect them for that. That's the trouble in the past. I never really had anyone contribute. They just followed. Whereas this time it's like everyone's just on board and wants to make a great album. So it's like, it's real good energy and like way to live.
That's the other angle I was going to ask about, because there's in film there's different theories of what the director does with regards to actors.
Yeah.
Like there are actors directors who are very involved in all the choices that the actors are making and down to blocking and emotions and all that stuff. And then there are people who are totally hands off. And like all that is done in the casting. It's like, I've cast you in this role because I know what you're capable of and I trust you to do whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much like how I see it as well. Like I always say to every member who joins the band, I'm like, with the old songs, try and replicate it, blah, blah, blah. But with the new stuff, bring your own style. Like I'm not going to, like when I say I tell people what to do, I don't really tell them exactly what to play. I can't play drums or bass. So like, I just give them a direction that I think it should go. So I just say to them, like, do it in your own style, do it your way. That's what I've hired you for. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you're good at what you do. And like Marty's complete different drummer to the drummers I've played with in the past. He comes from a different background. So like, it's good. I just say to him, you know, learn the old songs, but add your own flavor. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the whole point of the band. You meant to keep going and be together, you know? Yeah, I know. I think like most of my depression and anxiety all comes from my work. Like there's a big history of stuff like that. And that's why I think like I've done a lot of job hopping. I struggled to get my apprenticeship like for a long period of time and like just get mistreated along the way and people just like going bankrupt. So I'd have to try again and start again. It was just constantly feel like I'm always proving myself and that pressure just kind of, escalates and builds up.
So how does the anxiety manifest?
Like, how is it like affect me at work and
Yeah.
stuff? Just being told that I'm doing something wrong. So like, like if I start a new job, I've been doing it for a very long time. I start a new job and they'd be like, oh, the way you done that, like that's wrong. Like you have to, and they tell me they have to do it their way. And then I have to try and do it their way, which I can't do because I've learnt so much in doing my way. And then I kind of make mistakes. And then from there, like the boss would be like, oh, like it's not very good that you done that. Like you shouldn't be doing those mistakes. I expect more of you. And then it kind of just like, I'll go home and think about that. And then it affects me. And then the next day I'll be like, all right, I shouldn't make those mistakes again. I need to focus on myself. And like, they're watching you and, you just need to be faster, or like they said you're too slow. So you need to be quicker, like just get quicker. And then I try too hard and I end up just building up into the point where like I almost have a panic attack and just like don't know how to deal with myself and everything just becomes blurry. And
When you say it affects you when you get home, like how does it affect you?
to the point where I go quiet and don't really talk to Beck about it. I keep to myself and just kind of like question myself a lot and go, is this what I should be doing? Why am I doing this still? And just overall, like even like just to say hang out with Beck's sex life as well. Like I have no ambition to do anything like that. Like it just kind of brings me down. I just kind of put myself down real bad.
Where are you with that at the moment with your career?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because it's still around. Like I kind of try and tackle it as much as I can. Yeah, it still affects me. That's all I can really say. It's like I try and maintain it a little bit better. Like just now, like taking like stress tablets and stuff like that. There's something that like just brings me down a bit and not worry so much about it. And just remember like wherever I've come from before. Like I worked at places for like 2 years and they never had an issue. I quit because of the fact I wanted to quit. So really whatever I've done before is fine. It's just these new people obviously have a way of that system they want to do stuff. So that's why I have to just learn and find my place in the position and go from there. So, but yeah, it's hard. I don't think you ever get over it, especially like depression. I've had that for a very long time.
And is that work related as well?
Yeah, no. It's like a mix of all sorts. I think like me saying I was very confident in myself in music is true, but at the same time, like I bring myself down in that as well a lot. Like I compare myself to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's the only bit what kind of affects me. Like when I'm playing, I'm very confident and I have this arrogance and stuff, but then like I'm one of those people, like I'll play a show and it seems like it went fine and everyone in the audience tell me how good it is, but I would never believe them, ever. I'll go home and be like, that was shit. Or I tell people like, oh, no, man, I made this mistake. And the band hates it. Like I'll go off stage, I'll be like over in the corner having a cigarette or something like that. And I'll be like, this is, I've made this so many mistakes. And Murray or someone would be like, dude, no one noticed it. And I'll be like, nah, I noticed it. And like, it just, things like that just get to me. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I have to play everything perfect. If I don't, it just gets me and just builds up.
I do that as well. And I think it's that thing where you're a perfectionist, but you're also not the best at something.
Yeah.
That's like a maddening position to be in. And like, I'll keep a tally when I'm on stage of like, I call them like in tennis, they're the unforced errors that you make. Like, because there's some things you can't avoid, if there's a technical stuff up or like if your drummer makes a mistake and that puts you off. But then there's other things where it's just entirely your own fuck up.
Yeah.
I've got like a tally of them running.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I do too. It's just like other people's mistakes, I don't really mind. I'm like, oh, they made that mistake. That's not me. I'm still playing good, you know what I mean? But yeah, like technical mistakes, like when your gear fails on you, like if you like lead brakes or pedal brakes, like I hate that because it's just so awkward and you're like trying to fix it. And even to the point like now I go home, I just make sure all my gear is like the perfect it can be. And I like change every month now I clean my pedal board and like rearrange it and make sure all the wires work and stuff because I don't want that to happen. Like I just hate that because that just gives me like panic attacks. I'm like, oh shit, people are looking, what do I do? And then like everyone tries to get involved and it's very stressful.
Do you ever have anxiety dreams about performing on stage?
No, actually, to be fair. I only get like anxiety if I'm playing, like we played for Built to Spill once and that was like my and Beck's favorite band when we were younger. And that was like, I was shitting bricks like the whole time. And like to the point where like I was meant to drive that night and I drank myself silly and totally forgot I was driving. And then like I parked the car and like to one of those car parks in the valley. And I was like, oh my God, I'm meant to drive. What am I meant to do? Because I just started drinking because I was just stressing out and like just freaking out and drinking. So like they're the only times I really get bad anxiety, like freak out, I guess, when we were playing for bigger bands. Like I remember playing for Screen Theater as well. That was the same deal. I'm like, when I met Tim Stewart, it was like real arrogant to him. I think we played Real 1-2 And what I did was I stalked him for I was going to go home and I stalked him for a bit. And I had a CD of To Be Honest, the first album. And pretty much I followed him. He saw me at the bar. He looked at me and he just looked at me watching him. And then he walked away and I followed him and he started talking to someone. I waited there and he went to the door to go back into the venue. And I was like, "Oh, Tim." He's like, "Oh, hey man, how's it going? Good set." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks man." I said "Here's my CD. I really don't give a fuck if you don't like it, or you can throw it away or do whatever you want to do with it. But here's my CD. Give it a listen. If it comes, something comes from it, whatever." And just walked away from him. And then about a month later, we were playing with Scream Period. I'm like, well, it kind of worked, but but having that arrogance, I was like, shit, I've got to have that arrogance on stage now. I've got to be I'm the shit, yeah, it was funny, but Tim's a good guy.
Have you ever had professional help to deal with anxiety and depression?
Yes, I saw the first time I got depression was when I was an apprentice, and the story goes is that I was having a hard time because my tradesman who taught me from the beginning decided to quit, and him and the boss hate each other. They're like brother-in-laws, so they just couldn't stand each other at all. Everything they did, they just argued all the time, and just nothing ever got done. My boss was a dick to him all the time, and he was a dick to me. And then when my tradesman left, my boss decided to, for some reason, all of a sudden start teaching me everything. And it was that same thing. That's where the anxiety comes through. I started doing it the way I got taught, and he, because he hated my tradesman so much, would tell me that what I do is wrong.
It's just because it's the other guy's
style.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. And then took all his anger out from the tradesman to me. And was like, "Nah, you're doing that wrong. You're doing this wrong." And kept trying to reteach me how he does things. And it just built up and built up. And pretty much I don't take, I'm a guy who take a lot of shit, but there's a point where I'll just be like, "Nah, that's enough." And I'll just bite back. And me and him butt heads a fair few times. But yeah, one day I it just built up, and I was just at home, and yeah, pretty much just started feeling like shit. And I skateboarded a lot at that time. That was my meditation and fitness and stuff. And it got to a point, man, where I went to a skate park and just burst into tears. I just couldn't skate. I just wasn't in it. I just couldn't escape my thoughts. My thoughts are just going a million miles an hour, telling me how useless I was and how shit you were. And it just built up to the point where I couldn't do that. And I went home, tried to play guitar, couldn't do that. I was like, well, that's two things I love and can't do. When try to, have sex with Beck, not to say be rude or, but yeah, sleeping with Beck, didn't enjoy it. Just had no connection with Beck, and just no connection with myself. I felt like I was just hovering above myself all the time. Then one day I did the stupidest thing of eating a hash cookie and watching Harry Potter, the third one, where they turn into adults, and it gets a bit when Voldemort comes back in.
Yeah.
Deadly Hollows, is that what it
the third one was Prisoner of Azkaban.
The one after that.
Goblet of Fire?
I think so. It's where Voldemort comes back and starts killing people and stuff.
Yeah, at the end he comes back in.
Yeah, so that it was around there anyway. It just came out, and me and Beck decided to have a cookie and just watch it because we like Harry Potter. And yeah, it's just stupid, man. I was just watching it, and all I could think about was just evil shit. Whatever was going on TV, I felt like it was happening to me. And when people were getting hurt and shit, I was like, oh, and I could feel it in my body. And because I was, tripping out too, it all just built up on me. And then I just eventually just started crying, and I vomited, I shit, I pissed, I almost passed out. And I just said to Beck, I was like, next day I woke up and I was just broken, man. My vision became a tiny dot. I was so inside myself, everything around me didn't exist. And I just said to Beck one day, I just went, I'm fucked. I need to go somewhere, get me in a car and take me to my mum. And she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, I just feel if I don't go somewhere, I'm going to end up hurting myself or, just going to disappear. So you need to take me somewhere where I'm safe and need help. And, my mum's my fucking rock, always has been, always will be. Went there, and yeah, Beck just dropped me off and stayed there for a week out in Bluewater, which is 45 minutes away from Townsville. It's in the countryside. Kicked back and pretty much just laid in bed every day crying, thinking I was shit. And Mum talked me through it. And then, yeah, came back. Eventually when I say came back, I entered my body again, realizing I need to get over myself. Decided to call a psychologist, went and saw a doctor and stuff. Got 8 sessions with a psychologist. Did that. And I remember the day, Beck picked me up and took me back in the city, man. When you're living in the countryside for fucking a week, and you go back to the city and it's just cars and noises, and you just got back from depression, or you just decided I need to fix myself. yeah, it just all came on me like real hard, and I started getting anxiety. That's when the anxiety started kicking in, and I was like freaking out at loud noises. Anyway, yeah, I saw a guy for like 8 sessions and sorted that, and pretty much he just told me, he was like, you shouldn't live here, just piss off. Like, I was like, what do you mean? He's like, town's not for you, man. He's like, obviously you've tried hard to get places and finish your apprenticeship, but you're not happy, just move. I was like, what, just move? He's like, yeah, just go to Brisbane, is it? I'm like, oh, okay. And then that was the first thought in my head, was like, oh, I need to move. Stuck around for a year, quit my job, started doing like postie delivery and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, from there, just me and Beck decided to move. And
What was it the psychologists did for you?
they offered me medication. I refused because I feel like I could deal with it myself. Because I don't know, I have a weird thing of like, I've decided recently I might go on to antidepressants or some form of anxiety kind of stuff, just to kind of ease me out. Because I think I'm struggling. That's the struggle. Is like, you never want to admit that you're broken. Like, you do, and you know you're broken, but you don't want to show that or like have something help you. You feel like you can do it yourself. And like, that's the biggest battle, is like just trying to tell yourself that you don't need it, you can work it out. But all I did was did some meditation stuff. They gave me like a layout plan. So like they went through everything that was wrong with me, wrote on a whiteboard and said like how to succeed at all those things or how to fix those things or deal with it. And yeah, it just gave me a step-by-step plan. I went through that. They gave me meditation tapes, all that sort of stuff.
Well, what were some of those things they gave you to fix the problems?
It's hard to remember what it was. It was like with work, they said like not take it on. Just understand that you are the apprentice and utilize what I have there. So like what I mean by that is like, if you're getting abused, there's people there to tell. Like, you know, you're apprentice, you're signed to the government, tell them that you're getting abused. And then I started doing that, and it actually like surprisingly worked. Like they would come in and tell my boss like pack it in, blah blah blah. It made it worse because obviously he hated me. The fact I betrayed him and did that, and he saw it as like a betrayal thing. But it made me feel more confident, and also just to stand up for myself. Like, don't let people push you around, and like that's pretty much what they taught me. Like, I think one of them, the thing was like, he said find what makes you happy and achieve at those things. So like you said, like work's just something you make money for, and he's like, what else you like? And I was like, music, skateboarding, all that sort of stuff. He's like, well, look at all those things and see what you can do to make them better and to make them your main focus in life. And that's what it's always been. Like, to me, I don't like work. Work's just money. It's just a thing I have to do to get money. To me, music is where I want to go. And that's why I studied audio. Like, I did audio engineering for 2 years. And it sucks because it's been like a year now. I haven't done anything with it because of the fact I guess like my anxiety kicks in. Like every time I go to do something, like when you asked me to do live sound, I shit myself, man.
Really?
Like, yeah, dude. I don't know, something inside me just tells me I'm not very good at it. But the thing is, I got HDs the whole time. And like with mental health, I made a project called Through the Eyes of Others, and it was like it was pretty cool. I'll send you a link. It's an instrumental EP I made for like, and what we did is we got 6 people to come in who suffered from like, I'm talking like, I thought I got depression, like I do have depression, but these dudes are like next level. Like people would try to kill themselves, army veterans, like people would like dealt with like Iraq and stuff like that, like
PTSD.
Yeah, like shit. Like, man, when they tell you, you have to go home and just sit. Yeah, you don't do anything else. You just sit and look at a wall or something. Like, you just can't imagine what they're like. You know what I mean? Like the guy was telling me, like, I probably shouldn't say too much, but he said like, you know, one day he's in the army and he's in war and he's like in a big machete, fucking bombs, all that sort of stuff going on, fighting people. Next couple of days, he was like, explosion happened, like typical Private Ryan stuff. Felt real wigged out. Saw his friends die. Next day, he's opening gifts in Townsville with his kids on Christmas Day, and they had no help in between that. Just got dropped off and was like, "There you go, you're your family now. Thanks for your duties." Yeah, shit like that, man. It's like you just can't deal with that, and you know, so like did that, talked to them, and it was real kind of good because it was, I guess, like helped me a fair bit as well, and I could relate to them, and it was like. The other people on my team didn't have depression, so like they awokened and realized what it is actually a thing that needs talking about, and you know, people should look into it. So I did that, and each track represented their life. So they tell us a story from the beginning of depression to the end of depression, and we wrote instrumental tracks based on that, and made videos where they're like on a chair and they go through different colors up and down the camera, and like each part of the song is to do with each color.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's hard to explain. I'd have to put a link up or something for people to watch it. But we raised like $250, went to like Beyond Blue supported it, and like Interviewed all of them in front of people in this room. We did like an art exhibition, and like, yeah, to them it was like it helped them heaps, and that's all it meant to me. You know what I mean? Like, they need to help those people, and I'm still like that now. People with mental illness, people need to talk about it and help people with it. Like, I think people just keep to themselves too much and don't, like, a lot of people don't understand it. So, yeah.
Have you had a really bad depressive episode since that first one?
No, I've been pretty good. I think, like, having Beck on my side, like having someone there to kind of talk to, and yeah, if I do have any fucked up thoughts or anything like that, I can just talk to her about it, and she helps me. So now that I haven't got to the point of that stage where I was at, like to the point where like I was just not on this earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's a horrible place. I don't ever want to go back there. Like, I try not to go back there. Like, there's been a few times where I've been close, but yeah, I ain't going back there, man. I'm too strong for that shit. I've told myself that anyway. I kind of like the way psychologists help. The way I see it is like one day, my friend tried to kill himself, and we were talking outside of a bar, and he was like telling me how he tried to hang himself and all this other stuff, and how he's just like doesn't know what to do, and how he's got all these issues. And I was like, all right, well, talk about it. We had a chat about it. And then my advice was him, like, we're sitting outside his pub, and I said, look inside that pub, look in those windows. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, everyone in there has an issue, man. Every single person. They can hide it, they can do it. Everyone has an issue. They think they're fat, they think this, or they're depressed, or like anything like that. They all got issues, every one of them. It's just they all kind of like deal with it in their own ways, and you just need to realize that you're not the only person. You know what I mean? Like, you may think you are, and you may think that you're fucked up and useless, but everyone feels that way. It's the society we live in, man. Like, if you're not rich and not famous or anything like that, fuck, we're just normal people, and like, you just need to understand that and just live it. You know what I mean? And that's my advice to everyone. It's like, like when the psychologist told me that, it's like, if you find something that makes you happy and excel at it, like, just do everything you can to make that your main life. Like, if you like painting, go paint every day. Even if you make no money out of it and no one looks at them, if it makes you feel good, paint. You know, if you like writing, do it. If you like watching movies and writing reviews of movies and no one ever sees it and it's just for you, do that, man. Whatever makes you happy, just do it. Like, I hate when people say like they can't, when people are like, oh, I've always wanted to play guitar, but I just never had the like ambition to do it. I'm like, well, get that ambition, do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to do it, no, don't have to perform, you don't have to make records, just do it. If it makes you happy, do it. That's what I say. And also, like, never put yourself down because everyone else will do it for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what my mum told me when I was depressed. She's like, never ever make yourself into what you made yourself. Everyone else will do it for you, and you just need to realize that everyone else is dickheads. So that's mental health for me.
Do you want to pick another topic?
Yeah, sure. Oh, childhood. Damn. I'll give you a warning. This might get a little bit heavy.
Okay. And you don't have to talk about anything that you don't want to.
I'm pretty open with it, man. It's more like, so my childhood, I tell a lot of close friends, and I reckon this would be good for me to be able to talk about it. So it'd be good. My childhood wasn't really much of a childhood, to be fair. So when I was younger, I was about 4, my biological father tried to kill me and my mum. He was a police officer, had mental issues. He was like a detective for like murders and car crashes and stuff like that, and he had to determine who was in the wrong and like work out the case, I guess. So he saw a lot of deaths and things like that and crime scenes. Eventually got to him, and he started losing his mind a little bit, being abusive to my mother, being abusive to like people he arrested. He was called Red Fred, and he used to like lose his mind and bash people and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a very abusive, horrible person. One day I woke up when I was like 4, taking a pee. My dad came in, tapped me on the bum with a knife, and pretty much told me to go hide. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't think much of it. And then all of a sudden, like, just came fucking lashing at my mum with a knife, and I tried to get involved. And I won't go too much detail, but I remember the scene. Like, that's all I can remember of like my childhood for a while, like my main vivid memory. Pretty much like, yeah, me and my mum got dragged out of a window. Police took us away, stuff like that. And then they raided the place and like arrested him. He went to a mental institution. From there, he kidnapped me from school once. That was pretty interesting. After he escaped the asylum and came and got me. So yeah, so like, that was what I had to deal with. I was young. It didn't really affect me. Like, when you're a little kid, you kind of just like, oh, yeah, that's happening. You can't just go with what's going on. The person I feel bad for is my mother. Like, man, that would have been hard. Like, I can't even imagine that. You know what I mean? Like, she was my age, or a little bit younger, so she was like 26, something like that. Like, I can't imagine that. That's just nuts to me. So yeah, so from there, my mum pretty much became my main parent. Went to women shelters and stuff like that. Lived in them for a while. From there, my mum like got, obviously from the case that happened, she got pretty high anxiety herself and stuff like that. And like we go shopping and she freak out, or just constantly on, you know, like a cat, like just constantly on attack mode and thinking something's gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I guess it wasn't a bad childhood. It's just like, that's obviously a horrendous thing that happened to me. It's more like I had to grow up real quick. Like, I became my mum's rock and had to become a man like very fast. And always be there for my mum. My mum was always there for me. She was my mum and my father at the same time. Like, you know, like taught me how to ride a bike, do shoelaces, all the typical shit your dad teaches you. The only downfall was that we were like very poor. Because mum being a single parent, like trying to work and look after me and stuff like that was very hard for her. So yeah, I grew up in like council flats, all that kind of stuff. That's why I have this big thing. So like, I have a thing against rich people, and also whorish people when they buy, like people get credit cards and just buy shit for no reason, or like just go and buy like the most expensive things they can because they feel like they need it. Like, I grew up where like kids had toys like Disney characters, like people have a Buzz Lightyear, I'd have like a dollar store version of Buzz Lightyear, you know what I mean? Like, it would last you 2 days. I used to look after it like it was the best thing in my life, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I was raised, and I was raised with charity shops, like always hand-me-downs, stuff like that. And in my adulthood life now, I wear nothing but charity shop clothes, and like, you know, I hate it. Like, if anyone knows me, never do this in front of me, because I would just lose my shit. If you throw clothes away, or throw like shoes or anything like I saw a post the other day, I won't say who it was, they threw a brand new pair of Vans out, man, in a bin, and got new Connies, and they made a big post about it and bragged about it. It's like, dude, so like a homeless person could have had them. You know, some woman with a kid who was like 13 could have had them and bought in a charity shop, you know what I mean? Like, we live with a dude who threw blazers and jackets away. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, in the bin, not even like to a charity bin or anything, in a bin. And I got him out and I wore him. I was like, man, I'll wear him. And he's like, oh, no, that's gross. And like, you don't know me. Like, you don't, like, that's the thing. People forget you don't know the person you live with or who you're friends with. Like, some people keep secrets, man. Like, that's what I'm exposing to everyone right now is kind of a secret of mine. Like, I only tell my best mates, like, you know, so I'm happy to talk about it. But it's like, you know, that's how I was raised, man. Charity helped me and my mum through our whole lives. You know what I mean? Like, even today, like, my mum's still on charity shop binges and goes crazy and goes charity shop shopping. But like, yeah, so anyway, yeah, don't ever throw shit away. Give it to people, man. Someone else needs it. You know what I mean? Like, if they need it, just give it to charity. Charity sort it out for you. If you don't be lazy, pretty much. Like, yeah. So yeah, from there I was like, yeah, I moved around a fair bit. Yeah, like I found it very hard to make friends because of like, I remember being younger and people would bully me because I had no dad and stuff like that. Like, England's a bit of a different place. Like, obviously I was in England at this time. Yeah, I just got bullied for having no father. Teachers would think I was a menace because I was like kind of like rebellious, I guess. Like, I was a bit of a dickhead child because I had no father figure to kind of show me the way to go. Not saying that you need a father figure, but I kind of did. You know what I mean? Like, I needed that because I was rebellious. Yeah, so like from there, we just kept going and surviving, man. And then eventually, one day I met my stepdad, Barry, who like is my hero. Pretty much met my mum when I was like 10. And yeah, I hated him when I met him. I like couldn't stand him because I was my mum's main man. You know what I mean? Like, that was my role, not your role. And I remember one day he came in and like I just didn't give him the time of day. It took like probably till I was like 12. I think one day I told my mum to fuck off after we lived together, and they had like, so I got a little brother called Cameron who is Barry's son. So like I met he had a wife of 4 and I met his kids and they never liked me. I was always the black sheep of the family, that kind of stuff. So yeah, one day I told my mum to fuck off and he just grabbed me and was like, don't you ever, I know it's your mum, don't you ever talk to my wife like that again or I'll fucking, you know, sort you out. And I was like, sweet, all right, done, you're my dad. You love my mum as much as I do, so that's okay. Like, I knew he would never leave after that, and he never did. Like, you know, he's fucking great. He's pretty much the man you're looking at now is because of that guy. Like, I needed it, man. Like, needed it bad, hey? Because, like, my mum was, like, good raising me, but, yeah, I can't. Being a single mum and having that kind of issue on your back anyway, like, you know, people trying to hurt you and, like, constantly being in defense mode and stuff, like, it's hard, man. Like, you know, you need that extra person to help support the kid. And I never really had that. And, like, I had father figures like my uncle and stuff. And those people kind of just didn't stick around, man. They just, like, bailed or didn't care. Yeah, I mean, it's like my family, to me, family is, like, important because my family's my mom and, like, my little brother and my stepdad. That's it. I don't have anyone else. And so it's like, you know, it doesn't affect me. I think it just affects me in the fact that, like, when I talk to Beck or any other, like, if I talk to you about your childhood, you can tell me some nice stuff. And, you know, like, you might have some bad stuff too, but, yeah, like, Beck had, like, a nice upbringing, like, her family was, like, a nice tight family, like, mum and dad scenario, like, you know, went and did this, went and did that, went on road trips, went on, like, camping holidays and stuff like that. I never really had that, man. Yeah, you know, like, I went on a few trips with my mum, and mum made sure we went on holidays, but it wasn't, like, anything too flash or anything like that. Like, we just struggled, man. But we made it through. We're good.
Do you think that's had an effect on your current anxiety and depression stuff?
I don't know. A lot of people could tell me I should go and see someone about it, but I don't think it's affected me that much. I think more as an adult now, it affects me more. Like, when I was a kid, I never really understood it. I just understood it was just me and my mum, and that was it. I understood that that's the way it was going to be. And obviously men are going to come in my life and try and control me or be my father, which is fair enough. Like, that's what people need to do. But then, yeah, I think, like, as an adult, I think it affects me a lot more than not even just what's happened to me, just what's happened to my mum. Like, you know, like, trying to put myself in her shoes, like, it's crazy shit. Like, I can't imagine it. You know what I mean? Like, being at that age and the person you love and trust and the person you made a child with, trying to do that to you, it's just crazy. You know what I mean?
What effect does that have on the way, like, you want to be in your relationship with Beck?
I guess, like, I'm very against domestic violence, obviously, from what's happened. I have personally myself, I have a lot of anger issues. Like, I get quite fiery quite quick. That's why, like, me and Murray argue a bit because we're both, like, similar. But yeah, like, I take things passionately and get angry. So, like, I guess in a relationship, I just don't want to become that, like my dad. Like, so when I get angry at Beck, I have to, like, either walk away or it kind of, like, it's always in the back of my mind, like, don't be like that. Don't be that guy. Like, don't do that. And if I even, like, get angry to the point where I raise my voice, like, get sickened of myself and I have to walk away. Like, I have to leave the building and, like, just disappear for a little bit because it's not that it's there and it's not that I'll become him or just, like, it's always just in the back of my brain. I just don't want to even relate to that person. You know what I mean? Like, so I walk away and, yeah, it's hard. Like, yeah, arguments and stuff in relationships kind of get to me because I'm like, oh, am I becoming him? Am I fucking turn into him from this? Like, oh, I shouldn't be saying these things. Like, oh, like, you know, try and be a better man, I guess. I know. That's what I mean. I think that's why I love Beck so much because it's someone to talk to and someone to be there with you. You know what I mean? Like, my mum kind of never had that. So I guess, like, in my eyes, I want to be there for Becca and always support her in any formal way, give her ambition to do things, motivate her, like, you know, just make her happy. That's all I want to do. Like, that's pretty much what my life is dedicated to at the moment. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's like whatever makes my woman happy, I want to keep it that way. You know what I mean?
How do you do that?
Well, just for example, it's like me and Beck have a rule where it's like, say Beck tomorrow wants to go and study, I don't know, tightrope walking or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, study that shit, or ballet. Say she wants to do ballet and she wants to make a career out of that. I'll be 100% behind that. You know what I mean? I'll find out a way to make it happen. If she needs, like, you know, we've done it before. Like, so when Beck wanted to study massaging and stuff like that, she went part-time. So, like, I went full-time, which I was already doing, but, like, I paid for most of the bills and supported both of us and made sure everything was good and kept the ship running. And the same when I quit my job to go and do audio and spent 2 years unemployed, being on the dole, Beck did the exact same thing for me. So that's how we roll. We kind of, like, make it so we can both support each other and have ambitions and help each other out. And that's a healthy relationship, man. That's the number one key, is to always support the other person. Because if they're happy, you'll be happy, and then it's always going to come back to you from helping them, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, my childhood, man, like, childhood was good. I appreciate every moment of it. I just kind of, like, yeah, obviously I start off on the bad page, got dealt bad cards, but whatever, man, it happens. But yeah, I don't think it affects me that much. I think it's just more like every time I talk to my mum about it, and like the older you get, the more you find out. You know what I mean? Like, and you're just like, fuck. Like, you feel bad for her. Like I'll do anything for my mum because of what she's done for me. You know what I mean? Like, she's my hero, man. Like, she looked after me and made sure I was safe, like, for the whole life, and went through so much shit to do it. Like, I'll do exactly the same for her. If she needed me, I'll be there. Like, I don't care. Anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I was fucking in France and mum needed me, I'll come all the way back just to be with her, you know? And same with my dad, like my stepdad, not my dad. But, like, yeah, same with him. Like, he's helped me for thick and thin, man. Like, I remember being a teenager and he taught me a lot of things I needed to know, and, you know, like, brought me in as his own kid. And, like, that's why I kind of hate when I meet, like, my old boss. So the one I was telling you about, he used to abuse me. He used to, like, reference my dad as, like, I say my dad, like Barry, my stepdad. He used to say, oh, your stepdad all the time. And I was always like, nah, he's my dad. Because I see it as, like, you're raised, like, a homeless guy can raise a kid. That's his dad. You know what I mean? Like, if you, it's whoever you are and reflect on and what you've learned from that person, that's your father, man. Like, sperm and biological shit's bullshit, man. It's just they made you, whatever. But it's the soul and the person, like, the soul of someone is where it comes from, getting taught by the person, you know? Like, so yeah, Barry raised me, man. He's my dad. That's it.
And how is your mum doing these days?
Good. Real good. Like, she's happy, man. Like, I had some things come up recently, like my real father tried to reconnect to me. And that was a pretty big moment in my life. And that kind of did affect me a little bit because I was like, had to deal with anger and all sorts. I've decided not to bother with it. Like, I won't go too much detail with it, but yeah, just fucking, he's worthless, man. I don't want anything to do with him. So, like, you know, mum, that obviously brought a lot of demons back from my mother. And it was a bit hard, but like, talking through that sort of stuff was a bit difficult. But man, she's gold. Like, you know, she's real happy. Like, me and her are always gonna have this like deep connection. And like, you know, I feel bad because I don't really ring her that much or like get in contact with her. But when I do, it's good. We talk for a while and like reconnect and stuff. But yeah, she's going good. She's real happy.
So your biological dad, did he end up getting locked up for a while?
Nah, because he's a police officer, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, so they look after each other. You know what I mean? So like, you know. He didn't, well, the thing is, he attempted murder, I guess, but like, went to asylum for a bit, yeah, for a very long time. But after that, he got released, I guess. I don't really know the full backstory. Yeah, so like, I think he just, yeah, he's all married again now and stuff like that. But karma got back to him, though. It sounds mean, but he's in a wheelchair now and like got real bad issues. So I guess like, that's what happens, man. I know it sounds mean, but karma's a bitch, I guess. So yeah, that's my childhood.
Do you think you would want to make a new childhood with Beck someday?
Yeah, for sure. I want kids, man, for sure. We've talked about it. It's kind of a weird topic. I think you can never really be ready for kids. Like, I kind of feel like everyone's like, got a lot of friends who are like, right, we've been together this long. We're going to start trying to have kids. And they try and they go on this whole calendar system and they do fucking all this other stuff to try and get a baby. It never works out. And then one day they like get drunk and just come home and have sex. And then it's like, bang, you're pregnant. And that's what kind of me and Beck roll on. Like, we've talked about, like, obviously we've been together 10 years and we want to know where our life's going to be at. Yeah, it's why we're getting married, because of the fact that we feel that's the next stage, like, kind of thing. Like, we don't want to rush it. Like, we just don't want to rush. Like, we've got things going on in our lives. Like, I don't think I can quite physically look after it, like mentally and physically be there for a kid right now. But the thing is, if Beck got pregnant tomorrow, I wouldn't say no. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely would be a father. Like,
you'd step up, like,
yeah,
like your mum stepped up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, I think no one's ready until it comes out. That's what my friend told me one day. Like, I got a friend in Townsville called Shane. He shit himself when he found out his girlfriend was pregnant, and he didn't want anything to do with it, and like just freaked out. And he reckons the day his girlfriend gave birth, and he saw the kid, something Lois went, and he was straight on like just dad mode, man, and was all about it, and like just never looked back. And he's even to the point where he's living in Townsville now to be with his kid, and he's like left relationships and stuff, and yeah, done stuff, and he wants to be there for his kid, man. So it's like, it's just, you can never be ready until you see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the physical thing, man. It's like when you're like, oh, I'm gonna get, that's a bad comparison, but when you're like, oh, I want to get a dog, and you talk about it, and you freak out, and you're like, oh, is it gonna hold us back? Is it gonna do it? And then you get one, and it's like, well, I got one there. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. You just got, but you got to treat that thing like you love it and raise it how you want to raise it, man. You know what I mean?
You got a dog with Beck last year.
Yes,
Polly Pocket.
Yeah, Polly Pocket.
So, well, what lessons have you learned about raising a dog?
Me and Beck had 2 dogs before in Townsville. We had a Apple, which was a Ridgeback Cross Labrador, and Jill was our first dog we got together when we were 19. She was a Kelpie Cross Staffy. But they were like, Apple, when we got her, she was like 2 or 3. Jill was 6 months when we got her. So like we've had dogs in the past, but this is the first time we ever had like a puppy. Like,
yeah.
Like tiny. Like when we got Polly, she was like 7 weeks and she was about probably a little bit bigger in my hand, like my little bit halfway from my forearm, like just like half my forearm. Tiny, man. Like I could fit around my whole neck, like a bum and her head would go around where my ears are. Now she's a year old. Or next week, I think she's a year old. But yeah, like just patience. That's pretty much what I learned. Patience and love, man. Like every time I see that dog, like it's the best thing. You get home and that dog wants to be your best friend, and like it loves you unconditionally to the point where like it'll do anything for you, and all you gotta do is pick it up, kiss it, and it loves it. Like close its eyes and it's all in your little neck, and like you're holding it, and yeah. And patience is a big thing. I've yelled at her once and I felt real bad, and like I understood like I shouldn't really be doing that and it's not her fault. And you just kind of, I guess it'd be like having kids. You got to read up about it, man. Like you got to understand how to deal with this thing that you bought, and
it's not a reasonable adult human being.
No,
it can't be reasoned.
No, dude, it's got a dog has a capacity of like a 3-year-old apparently, or something like that. So it's like, it thinks like that. So you have to understand, like, you have to be gentle with it and persuade it to do things by giving it treats and like train it and make everything happy and fun for it. If you're aggressive to it, it's not going to listen, and that frustrates you more, especially when they're puppies, man. They're like peeing everywhere and pooing everywhere, and you're like, why? I've taught you to pee over there. Why not? I made this whole garden area for you to pee in, and you just want to pee over there on my rug, like on my bed at 1 o'clock in the morning when I come back from a gig. Like you learn to control your anger. It's like, yeah, I think it's good. She's very well trained now. Like I taught her from the get-go with clicks and treats, and she's good now. I love my dog.
I think he'd be a good dad.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think like, yeah, I don't know. Obviously I think I'll be a good dad because the fact that like I want to raise a kid better in my history. And also just like, yeah, I hate when you see parents, like, I can't talk because I haven't got a kid myself, but when you see people who have children and then change everything about their lifestyle and change everything about what they do to suit that kid, like, I reckon it should be the other way around, man. You should keep what you're doing. Like what I mean is, like, I know people who've quit music and done things, given up all that social life and all that hard work of playing music to just, like, raising a kid, which is fair enough. You can do that. That's not wrong. But I see it as, like, if I have a kid, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and they can dance and be playing guitar, and eventually they get surrounded by music, and I'll keep playing and that, and they can introduce, like, meet you and get raised by a community of musos. And if they want to play music, they might play music. If they don't, they don't. But like, it's just involving them in your hobbies. You know what I mean? Because that's the best thing about it. It's like, I like going to the beaches and going to the forest. I take my dog with me. It's better to see the dog enjoy it and love life, and I'm with it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
I guess in the early years though, there's probably a bit more of a time commitment when they're not able to participate.
Yeah. I understand that period. Like, yeah, you're definitely not going to take your like newborn child to like a gig and be like, hey, look at my baby. Like, obviously you're going to spend a long time trying to get your head around how to deal with this thing crying and screaming and shitting, and like, being sick. And yeah, that's the thing that scares me the most, I think, because like I wish you could just have kids when they like come out and they're like 3 years old already. Or, like, they
can already talk and walk, like be cute.
And you can be like, all right, cool, I'll teach you things now. Whereas like, is that middle section where they're just a soft thing? Yeah,
they're just like a helpless fluid machine.
Yeah, seeing upside down and shit when they first come out and things like that. It's just like, wow. Yeah, you can understand why it's hard on parents. Like, I always think about it, it's like, who would stay at home? You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to be a stay-at-home dad, but the thing is, like, maybe Beck wants to do that, you know what I mean? But then, like, you'd have to deal with that shit. And then I also, at nighttime, like, who wakes up to go and get it and stuff like that, like, yeah, it's a trippy thing. I would like to have one. I think maybe 1 or 2, that'd be it. I wouldn't have any more. Like, I don't get people who have like 6 kids and shit. Like, just madness. It's like, why keep having them? Just whatever. Just get it cut after 2, man. That's it, done. Like, it's like my brother and me. We're like 9 years difference. Like, so I guess like, yeah, it depends age wise as well. Like, where you want to plan. Hey, like Beck and her brother are like pretty close aged. I think it's like 2 years or 3 years, something like that. So yeah, I don't know. So I haven't really thought about this stuff, Scott. You're making me think about it right now.
Do you feel like you did any sort of parenting towards your stepbrother?
Yes. I think, I know, we always talk about it. Like, I was a bit of an asshole to him when he came, eh? Like, when he was a baby, I loved him and stuff. But then, like, it got to a point where I got to 13 and he was, like, little and I had to look after him all the time. Like, that kind of stuff. And, like, take him everywhere I was going. And it was like, I couldn't go and do what I wanted to do. I had to, like, drag my little brother around. He couldn't go to places because he's only, like, 4 or whatever. Like, just things like that. And, yeah, it just got annoying. And, like, trying to teach him, like, things. Like, I remember the day, like, you say, hate me or something like that. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like, trying to make a little kid understand what hate means. And then, like, and the only way you can do it is by being real mean and, like, making them feel that way. And you feel bad for doing that. And then, like, yeah, those kind of things, like, I always think about, like, man, I was mean to him. But, like, you know, at the same time, he's turned out to be a right kid, you know? Like, yeah, it's hard. I know, like, yeah, I love my little brother. Especially now, like, he moved down. He screwed me over, but at the same time, I'm happy. You know, he never, screw over is the wrong word. So I remember I went to Townsville, and I don't really like Townsville. I've had bad history there, obviously, and every time I go there, 2 days is enough for me. Like, I kind of hate Townsville, man. Like, I went from moving to England to Brisbane for a month, and then all of a sudden to Townsville for, like, in the middle of the desert in Queensland, like, that kind of shit. Like,
why did you go to Townsville?
So my mum is originally born in Townsville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she moved to England when she was 10 years old on a boat. Her family moved there, and she just never came back and lived there till, 2004. Yeah, so, like, what happened was that we went to Italy. Mum got a new passport because she actually never got citizenship. She got married in England, had kids and all that sort of stuff, but never fought to get her citizenship. Like, just never came to her brain. She always thought that she had one, I guess. So, yeah, she did all, like, lived there, did her life, and then we decided to go to Italy for a holiday. And Mum got a new passport, an Australian one, and Cameron got an Australian one for some reason too. I don't know why, but apparently did. Went to Italy, tried to get back in, came back to the UK to go home. And border control pretty much, like, pulled my mum and my little brother and put them in handcuffs and put them aside and was like, why are you here for? You shouldn't be here. Like, you know, have you got a holiday visa? Mum's like, no, I live here. And they're like, no, it's like, you're not a citizen. Where's your citizenship? And all this other stuff on one of these forms. And me and my dad, like, went straight through and we're just sitting there going, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, like, yeah, Mum came back and they, like, gave Mum, like, 3 months to prove that she lived there and had kids and all that sort of stuff. And charged her, like, I think it was like £6,000 to, like, go into the country. And then my dad at the time was quite high up, and there's a company called Kerry's, which is like a food company that supplies food to, like, Woolworths and stuff. They're over here. Yeah, so, like, he was like pretty much in charge of that whole business, like, worked his way up from the streets to, like, being a big boss man. His friend that month had a heart attack doing the same. They both worked at the same job and did the same thing. And, like, we never saw my dad when I was young. He was always traveling and, like, going up and down the country, being a sales rep kind of thing. Yeah, so he wanted to retire. He was always talking about retiring and being like, oh, I want to do something else. And then when that happened, he was like, all right, sweet, we're bailing. We're not going to stick around. And they sold their house, sold all their shit, and just fucking moved to Australia. Like, that was the choice. They didn't want to stick around, so they decided to do it. Came to Brisbane, looked around, and yeah, it sucked because I was, like, way into skateboarding and stuff like that. And Brisbane was like, wow, this is amazing. I've seen this in magazines and, like, this is awesome. I was way into it. But we just came from Worcestershire, which was, like, a city. And my dad's from East Acton in London and, like, always been part of the city. So he wanted to, like, go move somewhere in the bush and just be, like, live the typical Australian bushman life and they'd be in his yard and make shit. So, like, when we came to Brisbane, they were, like, looking at places, like, in the city and they're like, nah, we hate this, we hate that. Then they decided to, like, go out to, like, Sunshine Coast and, like, even further, man, like, north. Like, I was every time I was like, dude, this is, like, desert. I don't want to be out here. Like, this is, like, bush and shit. Like, being a skateboarder in my brain, being like, where's all the streets, you know? I just hated it. Anyway, so, like, because I hated it, they decided to go move somewhere else. They were thinking about Melbourne or something like that. And then they decided, like, oh, let's just go back to Townsville and, like, go to where your mum lives, where your mum come from and see what it's like. Went to Townsville. Got there, they hated it. Like, it was hot as hell, man. Like, we were in the car in our underwear and shit in the aircon, like, not used to the weather. Like, Brisbane was hot, but, like, Townsville was, like, next level. We drove, looked around, stayed in this, like, hotel for, like, a month. Mum and dad hated it. They looked around, tried to look at property, didn't like anything. they decided to move back to Brizzy and try and live in the city. That day, the cricket was on in Brisbane. They couldn't get tickets to go back on the planes. Like, it was all sold out because they want to leave like there and then. Like, my mum and dad like make decisions like that and do it. My family aren't religious, but they have this weird thing about faith. So they see it as like fate, sorry. Like, they see it as like
stuff that's meant to be.
Yeah. So they saw it as like, oh, we can't get tickets to Brisbane because the cricket's on. That means we have to live in Townsville.
Right.
And then they decided just to live in Townsville and then moved out to like Bluewater, which is like an hour away from the city, and bought like a 2-acre land and a tiny little house. And pretty much they've been living there the whole time and like developing it. Like, the house is crazy now. Like, they watch too much Grand Designs and just make shit. Every time I go there, it's like a different house. Like, me and Becca was like, where are we staying now? Like, this used to be my room, but it's not anymore. It's got like a bathroom attached to it and it's like twice as big. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. We just decided to live in Townsville and that was it. I just had to deal with it and go to school here in year 11 and 12 and yeah, pretty much become an Australian. It's good. It's made me who I am, I feel.
Did you ever get your citizenship?
Yeah, I got mine by descent before we moved here.
Right.
Yeah, because mum realised that she wasn't, she had one here, so the kids can get one, so I got one. So I got like, dual citizenship. It's pretty good. My dad never got it, obviously. We talked about that at the beginning.
I guess you still couldn't like run for parliament unless you actually renounced your British citizenship.
Yeah, which I probably would never do.
Right.
I can't imagine me in parliament, man.
MP Martin.
But yeah, Townsville, it was good. No, like, yeah, but like that's the same about my brother. Like, he was going for the same thing, being an apprentice, and it was like seeing history repeat itself. And I just said to him, I was like, look, stick around, get your license, stick around till you're like 22. If you don't like it, come and move to Brisbane, and I'll let you live with me. He was like 17, just about to turn 18. When the guy turned 18, he was at my doorstep and was like, oh, I'm living with you now. I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, like, yeah, he's been living with us ever since. Like, it's good. And it's good to see him develop into like, because he's like, I'm an extrovert. He's like mega introvert. Like, he'll hang out in his room, write constant songs, like musical genius, man. Like, can play anything, piano, drums, guitars, bass, all that sort of stuff. Pretty much I look at him and go, like, I think that's from, he used to look at me and he used to see me as like the figure to look at kind of thing. Like, oh, Lloyd plays music. He's cool. He skateboards. He does that. He always copied me, but did it better. And I'm like, not saying he's better than me, but he's a lot more musical than I am. Like, so like, yeah, it's good to see him turn into a like young 20-year-old version of me, but a bit more smarter, I guess.
Is he in bands?
No, he hasn't yet to do that. He should be. He's wrote like a whole album, man. Like, writes music every single day, that kid. He's studying music currently. So yeah, he's studying, I think it's like TAFE, but it's like college somewhere else. It's like some weird thing. So he's studying a Bachelor of Music, which is going real good. He's going to do with it. But yeah, hopefully he can start a band. He's just got to find the right people. He's finding it a bit difficult to kind of find people in the same interest.
Well, I guess he can tag along at bear hunt gigs and you can introduce him to a bunch of people.
Well, next year, me and Murray and Becca are going to start a new band. We're going to start a band called Swinehound, which is like pig dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, pig dog in German. It's going to be like a psychedelic kind of country rock band. I'm going to play 12-string and like keys, synth and stuff, and Murray's going to play guitar and Beck's going to just sing. We're looking for a drummer next year, and then Cameron's going to play bass and keys and synth, so I think that would be a next step for him to kind of like get out there and start playing shows and getting his name out there, I guess. So
is Marty not keen to be part of that?
Marty's moving to UK, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. So Bear Hunt will be looking for a new drummer next year again.
Do you want to go one more topic?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what's going to come up now. Oh. Ambition. I actually thought about this a fair bit.
Are you an ambitious person, Lloyd?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Musically or in terms of like your day job?
Musically, for sure. Obviously, I feel like I play in a band and stuff like that, so like we have ambition to reach certain goals and certain things. I think ambition's a good thing, but it also can be a very bad thing. You can be too ambitious, I guess, a little bit. Like I struggle with that a fair bit, is like trying to decide where I want to be with music. Like a lot of people just play music because they want to make albums and do stuff. Like obviously in my brain, I want to do that as well. But then I have the other side of my ambition where it's like, I want to be like rock star famous and like be big and do this and play with the greats and be up there. And like, you know, it's obviously, it's a luck of a draw, that stuff, you know what I mean? It's who you know and it goes from there. But it can also, like, I can never ever switch it off from my brain, especially like with the bear hunt. Like we start off and then kind of got a little bit of hype, I guess, or got more plays on the radio and did things and started playing for bigger bands, and you just kind of start being real ambitious and like, well, we can do this, like we'll do this and get PR and get a management and go this way. And it just takes you in a direction where you're just constantly trying to get there, and it just kind of becomes like a business almost, like, yeah, and it destroys a lot of people, man. Like, yeah, like we all struggled to like get out of that mode, you know what I mean? Like, and to get back to what we actually like doing, where we're just constantly in that goal of going there and getting that goal, man. Like,
well, were there certain like milestones along the way that you have hit that you never thought you'd be able to get to?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like even just playing shows, man. Like in Townsville, like we played to like in a room called The Space, which is in Townsville. It's not there anymore, but it used to be like a block of flats right in the middle of the mall, and it used to be an old bank and like and also rental areas. It got abandoned and someone bought it and just like gave it to artists. So each room had an artist in it. We used to hang out with a crew called Run, who were like a bunch of graffiti dudes. They had a room probably about the same size as this living room, just covered in graffiti. They changed the graffiti every single night for a gig. So like each day it would be different. So
you must have just constantly smelled of
dude. You play like, there's at one point where like you're playing there and you'd be getting high just from fumes.
Yeah. And
because it's Townsville and there's like, you get like 50 people in that room. Like imagine 50 people in here plus a band in the corner.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude. It just gets so humid. I remember one time like we were playing, I looked over to my drummer. His name was Matthew at the time. Paint was dripping from the roof onto him and his drums, and he was just like, what the hell? Like he had this like real expensive like shirt on. It was just covered in paint. like that kind of shit. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we used to play all the time, man. And like, it was awesome. And like venues and stuff, we tried to play venues, didn't want us to play. In towns, it was like you're either in a cover band. At the time, it was like you're either in a cover band or you don't play. So we used to play backyards, the Space, art shows, like magazines and like zines and stuff like that would come out and we'd support and play that. Yeah, and then like everyone just moved and went to Melbourne and like Sydney and stuff, and that's when we kind of decided to move as well. So like, yeah, that's one first goal ticked off of being ambitious. And we're like, let's move to Brisbane and make everyone fucking like our band. I don't give a fuck how they're gonna like our band, but we'll make it happen. And we've tried our hardest to get this band going and play shows, man. Because I used to come down here when I was apprentice. I used to come down here once a month every year. Come down by myself. Beck never came. So I used to come down and like, I remember the first Brisbane band I saw was New Jack Rubies. And I was, man, like even to this day, Steve is the fucking shit. Like, that guy's like, I would never say it to his face. And he probably, even if he does hear it now, whatever, I don't care. He's not here in front of me. But he's like one of my personal heroes, man. Like, I never seen his band. Then I saw Los Fuegos. And I saw, I think We All Want To as well. It was playing around that time. And every year I just come down. I just see all these venues like the Zoo, like, you know, Rick's even. Like I saw a band at Rick's and I thought it was the coolest shit in the world. Now I can't stand Rick's and hate it. But, you know, at the time I was like, yeah, this is sick. Yeah, so I saw like a whole bunch of bands and different venues. So like when we moved, we decided to move to Brisbane because I'm like, this is where our scene is, like our sound will do quite well here. Or I think it would do quite well. So we decided to move down. That was my ambition. It was like, I want to play the Zoo, tick. I want to play this, tick. And like, it was just every gig, man. It just like, we started off at Rick's, did that constantly for a little bit. Then Beetle Bar. And that was like, my main goal was Beetle Bar because like all the bands I liked were playing there, obviously. Like the Hits and stuff like that kind of crew at the time. And then like every venue we just played, I just ticked off the list and I was like, that's sweet. So that was one thing of ambition. The second one was release an album. Yeah, get to record and do stuff like that. That's great. And like we're on our third now, so it's like pretty good. And yeah, and then Built to Spill, man. Like that was like the pinnacle of like, so far I don't think I can beat that. Like something better has to come along. You know what I mean? And touring as well. Like touring was great. I'd never imagined touring. Blew my mind when I toured. I was like, wow.
So you're recording your third album now?
I guess it's my second one. I keep forgetting I have an EP in between two.
Oh, the EP.
Yeah, my third release, I
right,
guess.
okay, yes.
So this one's going to be an album though. Sorry. So we've Fallen Deaf Ears, our last EP. Yeah, so we're recording an album currently with Can Smith. The single, Your Halo's Loose, is coming out end of September. And then we should be doing a regional tour. Never done a regional tour before, so we decided to do that instead of doing a East Coast tour.
Did you get a grant for that?
No, we haven't applied for that any stuff yet. We're just looking at like Gold Coast, Toowoomba, like Byron Bay.
Oh, like just like driving distance.
Just driving distance. It's like we were going to go to Townsville, but man, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was like $450 each just to go there.
Oh man,
that's just to get there, man.
Yeah.
And like we're only getting paid $500 to play a gig, so it's like that's why we've never gone back to Townsville. Everyone always moans that we don't go back, but it's just like they're like, oh, you hate Townsville. I was like, no, I don't. It's just very, very expensive. And like it's the same price if I went to Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide. Like, it's all adds up. Like just to go north, man, it's just craziness. So yeah, we're currently recording our album, Goodnight, Sweet Losers, with Cam Smith, and it's going really good. We laid down 6 tracks 2 months ago, and then we're going back in the studio in September.
Why is it called Goodnight, Sweet Losers?
I knew this question would come one day. There's a story behind it. I watched this YouTube channel called Sound Device. It's I forget her name. It's a comical thing. It's like a gingerhead chick from SNL. I forget. I'll find her name. I'll tell you about it one day. But yeah, she does this thing where she's like pretends to be a PR representative of like just her own company. She's made a company up, and like she meets bands. So she like interviewed Haim. She's interviewed Tegan and Sarah, and just does real stupid shit. Like just talks about bad ideas. Anyway, she interviewed Isaac Brock, and I'm like a huge Modest Mouse fan. So like when I that's to go off topic a little bit. When I played with Built to Spill, that was like the closest I can get to Isaac Brock. I felt it was madness. I was like, wow, Isaac Brock shook Doug's hand. Like I fucking just shook the same hand, man. Like I'm this close to Isaac, man. I'm this close. Like, you know what I mean? Like stupid shit. But yeah. But anyway, yeah. So like she interviews Isaac, and she's talking to him, and she's like, you should probably change your name, Modest Mouse. Like it's a bit lame, and does stuff like that. And then she's like, oh, what you guys should do is put a concert on for like hairy hipster losers, and just call it, like have like a big on a field somewhere, and just have like your band playing and other loser hipster bands who are like depressed and stuff, and call it Goodnight, Sweet Losers. And like as soon as I heard that, and Isaac was like, that's not a bad idea. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, that's it. That's my album name, Goodnight, Sweet Losers. And I try, like every time everyone asks me to like, why is it called Goodnight, Sweet Losers? I'm just like, I try and come up with something for it. I think in my head, Goodnight, Sweet Losers are good because we live in a world where like none of us really care anymore. I feel like, I know it's a bit weird, like we can't just do what we want. And yeah, most of us don't succeed at it or just don't do it, but we just do it because we want to. And like, I just feel like Goodnight, Sweet Losers is like, oh well, you just doing what you want to do. You may be a loser in other people's eyes, but you're doing what you want to do. So whatever. Like that's how I see it.
Was that title a hard sell for the rest of the band?
No, I just told them that's what it's called. Yeah, like it's weird because like the album cover, which obviously hasn't come out yet, is the idea of this album is kind of what I said about like people just not caring. Death is like our icon, like is our mascot almost. So we got Death, and we feel that people just do things without consequences and don't think about it, and a lot of people just talk and do what they feel like bad or good, and just like everyone forgets, like especially young generation, like just party hard and take random drugs and do random shit. Like everyone just forgets that death's around the corner all the time, and forgets that your actions will have consequences. And a lot of people feel they can just get away with that, like they can just be like, oh, I can say what I want on Facebook because no one's here in person talking to me, so I can just be like, fuck you, feminism shit, and don't think about like what they're saying and just walk away from it. And then everyone else just jumps on and goes ape shit and carries. Like I feel like a lot of people do that, and we're just kind of just reminded like you kind of have to remember that you can't offend everyone, and like you got to think of your consequences almost, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. So like we kind of use death as a thing, being like you're living your life, but you better live it to what you want to live it, and live it to the fullest in what you believe in and how you feel. Don't just be a dickhead, because at the end of the day, you're going to die a loser, and this guy's going to collect you. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like how I see it. That's what I told the band. They're like, okay, Lloyd, that sounds good.
So are the themes on this album going to be maybe a bit less personal and a bit more about the rest of the world?
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, I guess because to be honest, it's a pretty personal album. Hey, like I feel every time I listen to it, I haven't listened to it in a long time, but when we were writing it, it was very much like what me and Beck were exactly feeling, and just moody people. I feel every album, like me and Beck are just bitching all the time, and but that's the way we vent. Like me and Beck don't actually complain about things to people or moan. You know what I mean? Like when we talk to people, we don't bitch about topics or anything like that. We have opinions and stuff, but when you meet some people and they're just like so aggressive about what they feel about things, and they're just so in your face and so like, it's because they got no outlet. You know what I mean? Like me and Beck have an outlet. Our band's our outlet, so we just let it go. If you want to know about me, listen to things like this, obviously. But then, like, if you listen to my records, it tells a lot about me and Beck and how we feel. But yeah, anyway, from the question you asked, yeah, this album is a lot more just about what's going on, and yeah, about other people, I guess. Like each album, we kind of talk about. Our main topic in Bear Hunt is social, like human socialization, like human beings in general, just like all the fucked up shit they do.
The human condition?
Yeah, human condition. That's the words. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's more about the human condition, each album, and just like, how we see people act and do things, and we just write about it, man. So yeah, this album's a lot more like that. Like when I started making this record, or when the Bear Hunt started making this record, sorry, we wanted it to be more dancey and more like enjoyable for people just to rock out and like dance and get into it, and more riff bass, but also still have like the melancholy like annoyance kind of thing, like angst, I guess. So I think we succeeded at that.
Lloyd, thanks so much for talking to me today.
It's all good.
And for
all
the
good.
Guinnesses, for the stouts.
Yeah, mine's all warm there. It's been between my leg the whole time.
Do you want to noodle around a bit on the guitar?
Give it a go.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is just me mucking about. Here's a loop I've got going on, I guess. Sorry for the bad play.
Ireland, if you're a pub, they seem to take the integrity of their brand very seriously. And also, there is a special method of pouring the correct glass of Guinness. It's a precise procedure known as the surge and settle. And it's taught in classes at the Guinness Academy in Dublin, which is a real place, apparently. The YouTube series that Lloyd got the name Goodnight, Sweet Losers from is called Sound Advice, and it's hosted by Vanessa Bayer, who was a cast member on Saturday Night Live from 2010 to 2017. It's pretty funny. I like the ones with Haim. Thanks for listening to this episode. If this is the first one you've heard, there's 41 others in the back catalogue you can listen to with other interesting people. Most of them musicians, most of them local musicians like Lloyd. Go check them out. Until next time, stay advised. Stay well advised.